Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Welcome to all of you to our Facebook Live event. I am Ramona Coman, professor in political science at the Université Libre de Bruxelles, alumna of the Institute for European Studies class of 2003, and since last year, it is my great honor to serve as president of the Institute. With us, we have Maria Isabel Soldevila. Maria, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Maria Isabel, as you've heard. I'm the communication director of the Institute and also a former student from the Executive Master in European Union Studies. I'm really happy to be here with you today.
So for today, we imagined a conversation with our students who are no longer students and alumni and alumnus of the Institute who graduated a bit before this summer. Nous avons imaginé une conversation donc avec nos diplômés, fraîchement diplômés, pour parler de leurs expériences, témoignages, pour parler de leur vie à l'Institut, de leurs études, mais aussi des opportunités professionnelles que Bruxelles peut offrir. Donc, je suis ravie d'avoir avec moi Anastasia Petrova. She graduated the specialized master in interdisciplinary EU studies. And Frederick Goldner, who graduated also a bit before the summer, as I said. Congratulations to both of you. Alumnus of the Master in European Studies. So Anastasia and Frederick, thank you very, very much for your time and for being with us today. We would like to discuss with you a series of questions so that we provide our new students with information about the Institute, about the life at the Institute, not only studies, but also social life, network, and the variety of activities. So before starting, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes. So,
Anastasia, maybe you go first, please.
So my name is Anastasia Petrova. I am a former student from the Free University of Brussels. I studied law and majored in international and European law. And after that, I enrolled into the specialized master in EU interdisciplinary studies at the IEE-ULB, at the Institute for European Studies. I like studying in Brussels. I've been here the past 6 years. It's a very vibrant community, a very diverse community, and this is what I like about it. So I am looking forward to answering all of your questions regarding next year. And if you have any other concerns, feel free to contact me whenever.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. And then you, Frederick, could you please introduce yourself?
So I've been a student at ULB for the past 2 years. I did a master program in European Studies. So I spent most of the last 2 years in Brussels, even though I'm now back in Germany. And the last semester didn't go as planned because of the pandemic and everything else. But I was able to, for example, conduct interviews in Brussels for my master's thesis, which was about EU migration policy. So that was a great experience. And I think it's a great advantage of being in Brussels to be able to be in the European institutions. I was, for example, at the External Action Service. I talked to EU officials, and I think that's one of the great advantages of being in Brussels already. Then you have this multicultural environment, of course, and especially for someone like me who's not from a francophone country, it's also great to be able to practice French and to speak French on campus, off campus. And then the other great advantage for me at the ULB and at the Institute for European Studies was the very familiar atmosphere. You know, it's not as anonymous as in other programs where you have hundreds of other fellow students, but really you have a better chance that you know the professors and the other students' names, and they also know your name. So I would really encourage you to apply at the ULB because I had a great time.
It is true that we are a community here, and it is true also that we know each other by the names. So this is it is true. So let's start maybe with a very general question before going into details. Anastasia and Frederick, what would be your best memory from your life as a student at the Institute? Let's imagine in 5-10 years when you will remember your stay with us here. What you will remember? Anastasia, no, Frederick, you go first now.
I go first, okay. It's quite difficult to come up with one event, but I would say, for example, the barbecue that was organized by SAIS. So there are two main student associations at the Institute. One of them is SAIS, and they organize events like, for example, a barbecue with professors and students. And that was great having that in summer and being able to be at the Institute, but not for studies, but also to do other activities after the studies.
Good, thank you. And you, Anastasia?
I can actually follow that trend. I was one of the unlucky students that didn't manage to go to the barbecue, which I regret deeply. But I think, as you already mentioned, that the IEE is a community. I think I made a very good and close group of friends during this year. And I think in 5 or 10 years, maybe even 20 years, I will definitely remember going out with those people and having a drink at Place Lux and yeah, just enjoying your younger years, your 20s.
We won't ask the names of the places where we can go out in Brussels, but maybe let's now try to remember when you decided to register. Maria Isabel, I don't know if you want to go first, but when you decided to register to come to Brussels, why Brussels?
And maybe what were the things that you liked about this institute instead of another? What were things that made you decide this is where I want to pursue my studies? So let's begin with Anastasia now.
Okay. So I remember that when I enrolled in the Free University of Brussels, so the Dutch-speaking one, I was very keen on how student-professor relations were going and how whether it was like whether professors and students remember each other's names or not, and how practical the courses were. And I made this choice for the Free University of Brussels, the Dutch-speaking one. And when I was looking for institutes to apply to for an additional master's, I was kind of like hoping to find something similar, or even an institute that is even more a community institute. And then I found the Institute for European Studies, and I was actually not aware of the fact that the ULB also had an institute, because we actually have the same institute at the VUB, and it was a close call, but eventually I chose the IEE because on the one hand it's a different university, you get to experience university life, and also French is again an aspect which is very important, and I got the opportunity to actually practice it, and as Frederick already mentioned, in campus and off campus.
Alors peut-être que Frédéric va nous montrer son français, il va nous expliquer un petit peu en français ses choix.
D'accord. Donc en fait, après mon bachelier en Allemagne, j'ai travaillé pour une ONG en Allemagne dans les affaires européennes et relations franco-allemandes. Et en fait, j'aurais presque choisi une autre université en Allemagne en études européennes. Et au final, je me disais, pourquoi pas étudier études européennes à Bruxelles, parce que c'est la capitale européenne, il y a les institutions. Donc, en fait, je me disais, pourquoi pas essayer ça et découvrir une nouvelle ville, un nouveau pays. Et au final, je n'ai jamais regretté ce choix parce que j'aime toujours la Belgique, Bruxelles, l'ambiance. J'ai déjà mentionné quelques autres aspects, donc voilà.
On voit que le français a été bien pratiqué.
C'est vrai qu'à l'Institut, nous parlons plusieurs langues au quotidien, français, anglais, espagnol, roumain, russe aussi, italien. Voilà, donc c'est vrai que ça fait partie un peu de notre quotidien d'entendre cette diversité tous les jours. Peut-être encore une question, vous avez suivi des parcours différents, hein? A specialized master in 1 year, and then you, Frederick, you follow the 2 years master program. What did you like in terms of content, but something that you think it was important for you, not only as a student, but also as a citizen, you know, something that helps you today when you open the newspapers, you read information to understand what is happening. What did you like? And then, of course, because we also have to ask this question, what are the dislikes? Anastasia, now it's your turn, I think.
Okay, so what I really liked about the Institute and the courses, because I did the specialized master in EU interdisciplinary studies, and so you have 3 thematic tracks within that master, within that 1-year program. And I chose the European integration, regionalism, and global governance track. And what I really liked about it was that it covered a variety of topics, but more in depth. And with only a legal background, I really broadened my horizon and perspective on European affairs in general. And I learned to think critically, but from an other vantage point. So not only like the legal aspects of environmental law or security details of the European Union, but really like a more broader aspect covering politics, history, economics. So this was for me, like also for personal development, really important. What I didn't like is really difficult to say. That I can't really think of something. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe it's more like practical aspects of how the master was organized, because the first semester was really tough in terms of it was very loaded. It was a lot of courses, a lot of attendance. Like you have to attend all the courses, of course, but also the way of teaching is different, and this is actually something I like. But it requires a lot of time to invest in those courses, because you need to be prepared. You have to read articles. It's a different format of teaching. You are more involved during the courses.
So to follow up on that, Anastasia, what would be some advice you give to someone that's trying to sign up for this program for next year? If you knew what you know today, what would you tell them about the organization or things that you wish you would have known? And then we'll go with Frederick.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anastasia.
I would say teach yourself to really be prepared to do a lot of time management during the first semester, and be prepared to read big chunks of information before you go to class, because this is a different way of teaching. It's more, I would compare it to the more UK style or American style of teaching, and not what we are used to in Belgium, I would say. Because the classes are a little bit smaller, you get the opportunity to really enter into a dialogue with the professor, into a conversation, which makes it very interesting. You develop your critical thinking skills. And other than that, yeah, it's a lot of work, but you get a lot out of it in return. So, yeah.
It is true, maybe, and this is a very good point, Anastasia. It is true that from September to December, the program is a bit heavy. But maybe we should also say that the reason is that from March to September, in non-COVID times, but even in COVID-19 times, this part of the year from March to September is devoted to the internship. So this is what explains a bit why you are right. We understand this. There is a lot of work from September to December. But Frederick, your turn now. Thank you.
So I have to say that the structure of the master program is a little bit particular, because in the first semester it was very intense also, a lot of classes, and then the second, third, fourth semester more quiet. And that can be a disadvantage for some people who are overburdened right away from the start, but it can also be used as an advantage. So I would give that advice also to students, to try to do as many classes in the first semester, really study a lot and try to get through, and then use the second, third, fourth semester to do other stuff, like to do at least one internship, or also maybe an additional internship. Or you can, for example, I spent a month in Spain, in Madrid, because I had the time during the summer. And you can also try to do interviews at the institutions and so on for your thesis, but also for For example, Eyes on Europe, which is the student magazine at the Institute. I was involved there first as an editor and then as an editor-in-chief, and I really enjoyed that. It was a great experience to do like sort of amateur journalism and also to get to know a little bit better the Brussels bubble from another perspective, and to write and research about European affairs, different topics. So that's definitely an advice. Try to do more than just your studies, especially after the first intense semester. You will have the time to get involved. And there are other student groups on campus, right? Not only at our institute, but also at the other faculties. What I didn't like that much sometimes was that some things take a long time in the administration and so on. I think that's probably the case for all universities or for other universities as well. So I hope that I will get my diploma very fast, because now I have like a preliminary certificate, but that at least went very fast, and so I have something that I can apply with, so that's great. But I hope that the final diploma will also be handed out, because I know that during the pandemic now it's even going to be more difficult and complicated. So I hope the university will do a good job there. But otherwise, I had a great time, and everything went very well overall. So yes.
I have a follow-up question, Ramona, unless you want to say something now. You mentioned being part of Eyes on Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So the life of the associations, you mentioned FAIES organizing events to animate the student life, and Eyes on Europe as that. Have you, do you recommend, other than the magazine, how do you get involved? Do you have some ideas for people who want to be part of the organizations?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, any one of you?
Maybe you can say also a few words, because we were happy to have you as a representative of students delegation in the council.
Yes.
Maybe you want to talk also a bit about this.
Should I start, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So yes, I was also a student representative for this master's. I think it's very important, because this is, as Frederick already mentioned, something that you do beyond your student life, but it is well integrated, and it's because you really get the chance and the opportunity to get involved in the core business of the institute. So besides the curricula and everything around that, you also really see how partnerships are made with different universities, what like administrative tasks are all behind the institute, and actually you really see like the living and breathing organs behind the institute.
Notre cuisine interne.
Yeah, yes, exactly, which is really important actually, and very interesting to see. And on the other hand, you form a bridge between what the institute does and what the students see or how they experience it, and you have this valuable feedback that you get back from the institute, which is really important, I think, to improve courses or improve things that aren't really running as smooth as we want them to. Yeah, and I would really recommend for students next year to apply to become a student representative, because I think this dialogue really needs to be established. Also, if there are some concerns regarding internships or classes, exams, and it's not really clear, or you have completely other issues, or you have a marvelous idea for the institute, research-wise, or it can be anything to improve the life at the campus, then I would definitely suggest become a student representative or keep in touch with them as much as possible.
Wonderful. Anything you want to add, Frederick?
Maybe I can add a few sentences about Eyes on Europe. So this is one of the student associations, and it's not only a magazine, so it's quite difficult at the moment to distribute the paper version of the magazine, right? But we also have a website, and we just did a transition to a new core team, actually, who will organize everything and keep the work going. And they will recruit new members at the beginning of the semester. So if the students see this and they are interested, so they can check out the website Eyes on Europe, they can contact the new team or just wait for the beginning of the semester, and there will definitely be announcements and recruitment of new members. And I can, of course, encourage people to try that out, even if they don't want to become a journalist. It's also about organizing events. We'll see how that goes with the pandemic, but otherwise writing articles, and that's definitely possible online, even if you study from home or from another country even. So
maybe one question about your plans for the future. Now that you will receive your diploma very soon, Frederick, I know that they are all signed.
Oh, okay, great.
What are your plans for the future? And maybe you can also talk a bit about your internship in particular, because I think you, at least Anastasia, you conducted it in this very unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic context. I don't remember you, Frederick, if your internship was conducted also during this very difficult time. What can you tell us about your internship and, more importantly, your plans for the future?
Anastasia,
so I actually conducted 2 internships this year. One at the beginning of the semester. I was an intern at the Belgian Red Cross at the Department for International Humanitarian Law, which was in line with my previous master's. So this made the first semester also a bit more intense for me, but that was a personal choice. And with the flexibility of the institute, everything went well. And in the second semester, I was an intern at the permanent representation of Belgium to the EU. This internship started, I think, 1 month sooner than it was supposed to, but it gave me the opportunity to actually see the functioning of the perm rep both in pandemic-free times and in times of pandemic, which was a very valuable experience because you really see how such organizations work in very stressful times, how core functions need to shift or how they need to be amended very rapidly. And I think that was really interesting to see, and I am really, really grateful that I was able to conduct that internship almost to the end, because it was ended a bit before the original ending date, because they couldn't guarantee our safety in the office. But before that, we teleworked for a couple of months. Yeah, so it was a completely different experience than going to the office each and every day. And also, when you work at the permanent representation, you kind of like switch back and forth between your office and the council. And with teleworking, a lot of the meetings were scratched from the agenda or were held on a virtual basis. And this was really important to go through because, I don't know, like working through meetings in a virtual way is completely different than going physically to the council. You really need to think differently when you connect with people, when you network with people, when you ask questions. It was a very valuable experience as well. So yeah.
What are your plans?
My plans. So currently, I'm actually already a trainee at a small consultancy firm in Brussels dealing with European Union affairs. We focus mainly on human rights, and then in that trend, everything that is related to civil security, so artificial intelligence and cybersecurity is included into the thematical package, which gives me a really broad perspective, really interesting and a really rich experience. And then in the future, I am planning to either stay there or maybe pursue some research goals. I haven't really figured that out yet, but I'm pretty sure anything is possible. So.
Wonderful. How about you, Frederick?
Yeah, so I was lucky that I could conduct my internship before the pandemic. because I already started in December at the German Parliament, the Bundestag. So I worked for a member of Parliament who's as a spokesperson for European affairs. And now I have different applications going. I'm still waiting and seeing how it goes. For example, the Schumann program at the representation of the Parliament in Berlin. But
that's
also,
why you need your diploma, right?
yeah, I think they accept the preliminary certificate.
Yes, I'm just kidding.
We'll see. But there are also other options. For example, coming back to Brussels, doing an internship in the European Parliament, which I wanted to do in summer, which was then cancelled due to the pandemic, and also other things where I applied jobs in European affairs, in international politics in general, and my plan A, so to say, would be to work in the think tank sector or academia and work with EU policies or French-German relations and maybe migration. This is also a topic that interests me because I, as I said, wrote my master's thesis about this. So lots of options, and eventually it's a tough decision. Also, maybe I will have different options or just one option, we'll see. And this is maybe something to know for students that you can both work in Brussels after this master program, or you return to your home country and you work, for example, in EU affairs or in liaison offices. So that's also an opportunity. And I might rather do this second option, as I'm already back in Germany right now.
Good luck. Thank you so much.
I have one question that we're getting a lot, and it's for you, Ramona. Potential students are very interested to see how the new academic year will be organized. This is a question we get a lot. There's a lot of uncertainty, of course, everywhere. So maybe shed some light to us how the university is working on organizing this new academic year, and give some ideas, because nothing is fixed in stone yet, but we already have some guidelines that maybe we can share.
Well, this is something that we are preparing for the moment. So the pandemic was, of course, unprecedented, and we have Anastasia and Frederick. They can also tell a bit about how we try to adapt from one day to another, to move from teaching in person and teaching online. So for the next academic year, we of course follow the rules of the university, and the university follows the rules of the National Council of Security here in Belgium. But what I can say from the what I can say is that we are preparing for 100% in-person courses if the situation, of course, improves and if this is possible. And if the scenario is not so positive, then we are, of course, prepared to teach in a hybrid formula, meaning that we will try to have groups of students in person on sites, and then others following us from home or à distance, and then a rotation system so that all students can, attend classes and interact with the professors. Of course, online teaching has also a lot of advantages, but teaching is also dialogue and interaction. We are here, of course, it is a nice conversation that we are having, so I'm really enjoying this discussion. But we also like, to feel this community at the Institute, so we will do our best, of course, to organize activities in person, so on a campus, on site at the Institute. So what I can say is that we are preparing all the next academic year in a hybrid formula. If activities in person are allowed, we will do our best and we will organize it in this way. If the situation is not improving, but we hope it will improve, then we are ready to switch immediately and to apply this hybrid formula. I don't know, maybe Frederick or Anastasia, what was your experience during the COVID-19 pandemic with classes and activities?
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can add that the library offers a great variety of sources online. So even if you can't get books, if you can't get access to the library, there are still options. For example, for me, my subject for my master's thesis was a topic where I only had to use online resources, so I was not really restrained in writing my master's thesis. So I was lucky, but I did have to take courses in the last semester.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, Anastasia?
Well, because the 1-year program is divided into a very intense first semester and a more lighter second semester, but of course with the internship, we didn't really have the major problems of organizing online courses, at least not in the thematic track I was following. I think the last courses were already ending
mid-March,
beginning of April, I think. And we had a couple of courses online, which you had to adapt, but it was rather convenient. So yeah, but I had a pretty positive experience on how the Institute adapted pretty fast. Of course, for the internship, this course was a big, there were big changes for this course because a lot of internships were suspended or people couldn't even find an internship because I think the pandemic really started in Belgium mid-March. And so a lot of people starting in April or May were not able to start at all. And so this really had an impact on their final dissertation project. So we had to adapt and change. But again, through this bridge between the student and the institute, through the student representative, we were able to kind of like find a good compromise on how to solve this issue, which I think was very important for quite a lot of people.
And I think one of the things that we need to tell everyone that's interested in this topic is that the situation is evolving all the time, and what we need to do is keep the communication channels open with our students and with the authorities of the university, both on our institutional website and on the university-wide website. There's a lot of information, but we also communicate very often via email, via the representatives. So of course, nobody has all the answers to something that's completely new and changing every day, but we are surely keeping an eye, a very close eye to the evolution of the situation and always updating you through all of our different channels.
Mm-hmm.
I think this has been a great conversation. What do you think, Ramona? We wrap it up?
Very nice conversation. I hope we will see you soon. You know, we will miss you. Don't forget that
come to the alumni
community network. We are the 4 of us, alumni of the Institute. So don't forget to register. If you are back to Brussels, come to see us. Say hi, and we try to stay in touch. As we said, we are not so small community. We see it as a small community, but in reality, we are thousands in this community. So good luck. I hope you will find job opportunities matching your professional aspirations. N'hésitez pas à revenir vers nous. And we also hope that we will soon have a nice graduation ceremony. We need to celebrate your stay with us, your success. And also we hope that, yeah, as I said, we will see you very, very soon for these events and also for other social events as members of our alumni network.
Maybe they'll come back for an alumni barbecue, and then you won't miss it, Anastasia.
Yes. Miss it in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and see you all soon. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.